Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me share with you a story. There was once a man who spent years chasing success. He thought that once he earned more money, once he built the perfect career, once he got the approval of everyone around him, then, only then, he would finally feel fulfilled. But every time he achieved a milestone, the satisfaction faded quickly. He'd celebrate for a moment, but soon after, the emptiness returned. Until one day, he met a wise teacher who asked him, "If everything you've been chasing still hasn't given you peace, maybe you're looking in the wrong place." That one question changed his life. The truth is, most of us live like that man. We think our life will begin when we get there, when we have the job, the partner, the house, the recognition. But what if the real story is not about chasing what's outside of us, but discovering what's already within us? When we talk about fulfillment, most people immediately think of achievements, milestones, or external rewards. We believe that once we reach a certain position, earn a specific amount of money, or gain recognition, life will finally feel complete. But what happens when we actually get there? For a brief moment we celebrate, we feel good, but soon that sense of joy fades away. And we're left asking ourselves, is this it? That's because fulfillment doesn't come from achievement alone. It comes from alignment. Alignment is when your daily actions, your decisions, and the way you live reflect the values you truly believe in. Think about it this way. You can achieve something incredible, but if it doesn't match who you are at your core, it will never feel right. Imagine climbing a ladder for years, putting in endless effort, only to realize it's leaning against the wrong wall. That's what happens when success doesn't align with your values. You get to the top, but it feels empty because it's not really where you were meant to be. Alignment, on the other hand, means asking yourself, does this path reflect who I really am? Does it bring out the best in me? Does it allow me to give something meaningful to others? When you live in alignment, even small achievements feel rich. Waking up early to care for your health, showing kindness to someone, or putting energy into a project that matters to you. These moments bring fulfillment because they resonate with your inner truth. Success stops being about how far you've gone and starts being about how true you've been to yourself. And here's the most beautiful part. Alignment creates peace. You no longer feel the constant need to prove yourself to the world. You stop chasing validation because you already feel whole from within. Instead of working to be enough, you work from a place of already being enough. Fulfillment is not a finish line you cross. It's the way you walk the path. So if you're searching for a deeper sense of satisfaction, don't just ask, what do I want to achieve? Ask, who do I want to be while I achieve it? Because when your actions mirror your values, when your life reflects your truth, fulfillment stops being temporary. It becomes a way of living. Comparison is one of the quietest thieves of joy. It sneaks into our lives without us even realizing it. We scroll through social media, we see someone living in a bigger house, driving a better car, traveling the world, or achieving milestones we haven't yet reached. And suddenly, our own lives feel small. But here's the truth, comparison only blinds us to the beauty of our own journey. Every time you measure yourself against someone else's timeline, you forget that life is not a race, and there's no single finish line we're all trying to reach. Think about a flower garden. No one looks at a rose and asks why it isn't blooming like a sunflower. No one questions why a tulip isn't as tall as a sunflower or as colorful as a daisy. Each flower has its own season, its own pace, its own unique beauty. Yet in our own lives, we constantly force ourselves into comparison. We forget that our journey, like those flowers, has its own timing and purpose. Your chapter 1 cannot and should not be compared to someone else's chapter 20. When we live in comparison, we live in lack. We focus on what we don't have instead of what we do. But when we shift that perspective, when we realize that someone else's success doesn't mean our failure, we begin to free ourselves. Their light doesn't dim yours. Their progress doesn't erase your potential. Instead of comparing, we can choose to celebrate. We can let their success inspire us, not discourage us. The irony is, the very people you compare yourself to are often comparing themselves to someone else. No one feels completely ahead. Everyone feels they're still trying to get somewhere. The cycle never ends until you decide to step out of it. Fulfillment doesn't come from being better than others. It comes from being better than who you were yesterday. So the real question is, are you living a life that feels right to you, or are you living a life that just looks right to others? The moment you stop competing with someone else's story and start focusing on writing your own, you'll feel lighter, freer, and far more grateful for where you are right now. Because the only person you need to measure yourself against is the person you were yesterday. Pain is one of the greatest teachers life gives us, but most of us spend our lives running from it. We avoid it, we numb it, we deny it, and we often ask, why me? But what if pain isn't here to break you, but to shape you? What if the very thing you see as a setback is actually a setup for growth? The story you tell yourself about your struggles will determine whether they become walls that trap you or doors that lead you to a new chapter. Think about it. Every scar, every heartbreak, every disappointment carries with it a lesson. When you look back at your life, some of your greatest strengths were born from the moments you thought you couldn't survive. That heartbreak taught you resilience. That failure taught you patience. That loss taught you compassion. Pain is not pleasant, but it is powerful. It carves you, reshapes you, and equips you with tools you never would have found in comfort. We often believe life should always feel smooth, but growth doesn't happen in ease. It happens in challenge. A seed must break open for the plant to grow. Muscles must tear before they become stronger. And in the same way, our hearts and minds must sometimes go through struggle before they can expand. The pain you feel today might be the very foundation of the wisdom you'll share tomorrow. But here's the key. You must change the way you view your pain. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? That shift transforms suffering into growth. Suddenly, your challenges no longer feel like punishments, but invitations. An invitation to evolve, to become wiser, to see yourself more clearly. When you embrace your pain instead of resisting it, it no longer controls you. You gain perspective. You realize that setbacks don't define you. How you respond to them does. And once you understand this, you begin to carry your pain differently. You don't see it as a burden, but as a gift, one that forces you to dig deeper, find strength within, and discover parts of yourself you never knew existed. So the next time life places a challenge before you, remember this: pain is not the end of your story. It is simply the chapter that teaches you how strong, how resilient, and how extraordinary you really are. Gratitude is one of the most underrated powers we have, yet it can completely transform the way we see our lives. So often, our minds are wired to focus on what's missing, what's lacking, and what's not going according to plan. We wake up thinking about the opportunities we don't have, the money we haven't earned yet, the people who haven't shown up for us. And because our focus is on what's absent, we overlook what's already present. Gratitude shifts that perspective. It reminds us that even in this very moment, there are blessings surrounding us that we take for granted. Think about it. How often do you pause to appreciate the simplest things? The fact that you woke up today, the fact that you can breathe, walk, see, and feel, the roof above your head, the food on your plate. The relationships that bring you even the smallest moments of love and joy. When you start to notice these things, life begins to look completely different. Gratitude doesn't mean settling or ignoring your ambitions. It doesn't mean you stop wanting to grow. It means that while you work toward more, you're deeply aware of the enough that already exists around you. Here's the truth. Gratitude turns ordinary moments into extraordinary ones. A meal with family becomes a celebration. A quiet morning becomes a sanctuary. A simple walk becomes a reminder of the beauty of being alive. And when you practice gratitude consistently, your vision changes. You stop obsessing over what others have because you're too busy being present with what you've been given. The most successful people in the world are not the ones who have everything. They're the ones who recognize the value in what they do have. Gratitude rewires your brain. It lowers stress, it increases joy, and it builds resilience because even when life feels heavy, gratitude finds a reason to say, "There's still something here to hold on to." So the next time you catch yourself focusing on what's missing, pause and ask, "What's here right now that I can be grateful for?" That question alone can shift your entire day. Because when you learn to see life through the lens of gratitude, you don't just find happiness, you create it. And that changes not just the way you see your life, but the way you live it. At the end of our lives, we won't measure our worth by the titles we held, the money we earned, or the possessions we collected. What we will remember, what will truly matter, is how deeply we loved and how sincerely we connected with others. Love is the greatest measure of a life well lived. It's not just about romantic love, it's about the kindness you showed to strangers, the time you gave to your family, the encouragement you offered a friend, the compassion you extended even when it wasn't easy. These moments of love leave a legacy that outlives us. So often, we get caught up in the chase for more. We want recognition, success, validation. And while those things may bring temporary joy, they fade quickly. What lasts is the impact we've had on people's hearts. No one will remember how big your house was, but they will remember how welcome you made them feel in it. No one will remember the number of awards you won, but they will remember the way you made them feel seen, heard, and valued. Love has the power to heal wounds that success cannot. It can turn strangers into family, enemies into friends, and pain into purpose. Every act of love, no matter how small, carries weight, a gentle word, a listening ear, a helping hand. These are the things that shape the quality of your life and the lives around you. And here's something beautiful. Love multiplies when it's given. The more you give, the more it grows. You never lose by loving, you only expand your capacity to experience joy. But love requires courage. It means being vulnerable, showing up fully, and choosing kindness even when it's not convenient. Yet it's that very courage that makes life meaningful. At the end of the day, the question isn't, how much did I achieve? The question is, how much did I love? Did I love the people around me enough to forgive them? Did I love myself enough to take care of my body, mind, and soul? Did I love the world enough to leave it better than I found it? When you can answer those questions with honesty, you'll realize you've lived a truly rich life. Because the real currency of life isn't money, fame, or power, it's love. And the more you give it, the more alive you become. Life is not asking us to chase endlessly, to compare constantly, or to wait until we arrive somewhere in the future before we can feel complete. Life is asking us to slow down, to pay attention, and to see that the meaning we're searching for has always been here. Fulfillment comes when our actions reflect our values. Peace comes when we stop comparing our path to someone else's and learn to honor our own journey. Strength comes when we embrace pain as a teacher rather than a punishment. Joy comes when we choose gratitude over scarcity. And true wealth comes when we measure our lives not by what we have, but by how deeply we love. Every experience, every challenge, every relationship has been shaping you for this very moment. The story you carry is not just about where you've been or what you've done, it's about who you're becoming. And the most important thing to remember is that your worth is not waiting for you in some distant future. It's already here in the way you choose to live, to grow, and to give today. This is your life. And the way you see, it will determine the way you live it. Choose to see it with clarity, with gratitude, with courage, and with love, because that vision will change everything.